by the rivers of Babylon. Yeah, we sat down and we cried when we remembered Jerusalem. We were sick, Lord, near to dying. Oh,
Shalom, shalom, family. Welcome to another Tanakh review. My name is Zurishaddai. I'm one of the teachers of Congregation CHOKMAH BINAH, located in the Red Hook section of Brooklyn, New York. Our address is 382 Hamilton Avenue, Brooklyn, New York. Giving glory to the Most High God for life, food, clothing, and shelter, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. I'm grateful to this mighty King for my life, for the life of my family. Giving thanks to the Most High God for the congregation, for all the family abroad who listens online. We thank you all for tuning in, and we pray that the Most High will continue to be with you all and protect you. For all those who are downtrodden and the sick, we pray that the Most High God hear all of your prayers, that the Most High God continue to be with our sister Jessica, that the Most High God continue to be with those who are sick, Adon Zamir's mother, and Adon Zamir's sister, praying that the Most High God will heal them, praying that the Most High God be with Ima Havared's mother, praying that the Most High God be with our brother, with our Ima Keturah's granddaughter, Yehudah, and also her great-granddaughter, and praying that the Most High God be with all those who are sick in the nation, that he will heal them. Thanking the Creator for the leadership of our congregation, even the spiritual leader of our congregation, Chief Prince Yehudah Ben Yisrael, praying that the Most High God be with him, his family, his household, and protect them. And also thanking the Creator once again for all of you who are out there listening. So, giving due glory to the Most High for being who he is, protecting us and watching over us and keeping us. So, at this time, I'll turn it over to one of my teachers, one of my mentors, even a man of great understanding and great knowledge. I pray that the Most High God be with him as he brings forth this lesson. None other than Nasik Zurishaddai Ben Yehudah. How are you, Nasik?
Abraham, God of Isaac, God of Jacob, and due respect to the platform on D.C.B platform, spiritual leader, Chief Secretary of the Nasik, the host Chief Yisrael, the Princess Chief Corny, Maureen, Rabbinic, brothers and sisters, visitors, and preacher all your CHOKMAH forefathers, Shalom Aleichem, and early Shabbat Shalom. I'll be covering the sigil called Shalak. Sometimes they say Shalak, sometimes they say Shalak. Either one is okay, and it comes from stars that Numbers 13:1. It goes all the way to Numbers 15, and to the end of 15, which is the 40th verse. And the Haftorah that goes along with it is the book of Joshua, the second chapter, the first verse to the 24th verse of the book of Joshua. And I'll be doing Psalm 64 that is related to this particular sigil portion. But before I go, first I'd like to say, Adonai Septati Tapuki Yagiti Etecha. Oh Lord, open down my lips, my mouth should declare thy praise. I'd like to go back a little bit. I left a couple of questions on the table from last time, and I met a few people and discussing it, and they, brought out some very interesting points, and I don't think I might have gave enough insight into what I was in the question and how I framed the question. So, but first, I'd like to go back just a moment, in the 11th chapter of Numbers, and just read a few things here, and then come back to that question before I go into Shalak Nathan, and then go into the Psalm. All right, in the 11th chapter, of Numbers. It said, and the people were were as murmurers, speaking evil in the ears of the Lord. And when the Lord heard it, his anger was kindled, and the fire of the Lord burnt among them, and about in the uttermost part of the camp. And the people cried unto Moses, and Moses prayed unto the Lord, and the fire abated. And the name of the place was called Taberah, because of the fire of the Lord burnt among them. Now you notice at the uttermost part, that's like the rear, 600,000 men of war, you know, and the children of Israel in a mixed multitude. So who you might think might have been in the rear. That's one point I wanted to bring out, for discussion, because it don't identify. I just said the people, in the ears of the Lord, and I mean, and that's a really speaking evil in the ears of the Lord. That's really up close and personal. So it's not so much even about the condition when you look at it, but it's also about they're looking at the creator more so as a problem. And it says in the next verse I'm going to bring out, and the mixed multitude that was among them fell a lusting. So it's almost like a continuation. And the children of Israel also wept on their part and said, would that we were given flesh to eat. Remember the fish, which we want to eat in Egypt or North. Now I just want to stop there. My question was, why quails? We know the story, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time in it. I'm just addressing some of the things that was brought to me during in between time between different people. Why quails? Well, we know we left with cattle. We know that our people, was not that ignorant, where that they could not realize that if you had meat, there's plenty of meat to eat. You got bullocks, you got sheep, you got goat, and the lamb. So you have meat. Why would the Lord bring you quails? All right? And why would you start complaining about flesh? It wasn't you that initiate the issue about meat. It was the mixed multitude. God rescued you. God told Pharaoh to let, you know, Israel go. For Israel is my son, even my firstborn. He never said let the mixed multitude go. So we have a lot of tag alongs. And some of the points I want to bring out as I go forward. And it sets the stage, and that's why Numbers is one of the most historical and full portfolio of the children of Israel throughout the wilderness, the 40-year period, because you find a nation going through a development during the period of Numbers. So now, why would we, be influenced by a people that tag along with us and said we took up their uh, uh, plea? We recognized their plea and made it our own plea for flesh. And it's okay to be sympathetic, and it's even okay sometimes to be empathetic, but we got to know when and where. We cannot ever support a wrong agenda. We got to always be on the right side of righteousness. We didn't come up with the idea about worrying about flesh first. They did. Yes. Okay. Okay. All right. All right. We didn't have an issue with with the meat. It was the mixed multitude, and we decided to jump on the bandwagon and act like if it was our cause. So now, when we got quail, God provided something that we didn't have to show that He could provide food. But it's another thing I wanted to present also. We had already set up the priesthood. we got to remember the time zone that, when the tabernacle was established, and we had the 12 days of dedication for each prince. And we know the 12 days that was dedicated for each prince. And we observed the first Passover since outside of Egypt. That's all in the beginning of the second year. So it took us that long to be reestablished. So we had history before that before the establishment of the tabernacle. We had the issue with the golden calf, the pleading about Moses and coming back in the second tablets. All that took place already. So it's important that we see some kind of timeline when we try to connect some of the stories that we read in the Sidra. So when you have a priesthood, we know that Aaron and his sons was priests. We know that once the tabernacle was established, that we find this out later on, and you discuss it with your different teachers, that if you got 600,000 men of war, roughly 3 million people at the foot of Mount Sinai, and everybody just can't slaughter meat like they were slaughtering prior to that period of time, then what could be the problem that you want to know? Who gonna give us meat? And you notice the question was, who gonna give us meat? Because if every meat that you had of the cattle, the herds, had to be brought to the door of the tabernacle and slaughtered, and the priest, and we find a little thing of where the priests get a portion from whatever you slaughter, unless it's a holy full burnt offering, then it's not that many priests at this point in time. That's number one. So they would possibly figure they plead and their cause is just because you only have Aaron and his sons, and you only have so many Levites. So, and yet you're talking millions of people, and say, how do we eat regular meat? So the Creator gave them something that normally don't, you really don't burn up or sacrifice on the altar, which is fowl. Fish don't go on the altar, and the fowl. So when he brought the fowl in, not only he did two things. One, you don't have to worry about it going on the altar, slaughtering up to a ritually slaughtering up according to the normal offerings of sacrifices. And two, that it's something that you didn't really have in abundance. So those are some of the things, and you could discuss it further. So now I'm going to the book of Shalom a little bit, and some books like it say Shalom. Some people call it the Sidra Shalom, which means sent, and then or he sent, and then some say use the whole term Shalach Lekah, send for yourself. So now let's look at both scenarios. One, sin, it would imply that God initiate the idea. But when you say sin for yourself, it would say God allowing you to satisfy your desire. So this is talking to Moses, directly to Moses. We know in the book of Deuteronomy 40, later in 40 years period, when Moses recount the incident of the scouts, that they were that they brought the children of Israel, and the people brought it up to Moses, and Moses, thought it was a good idea. He thought it seemed sincere. He thought it was a genuine idea. So he brought it to God, and God told him, send for yourself men. And these guys are picked out. So now we into the book of Shalach. I'm just going to read just a little bit. I'm going to highlight, I'm going to cover about what it's all about the men being sent out. Moses' instruction of the spies, the acts of the spies in Canaan, the report of the spies. Then it goes to the people's complaint. Then it goes into Joshua and Caleb urged the people to enter Canaan. Then Moses obtained pardon for the people. The Lord decreed 40 years of wandering. And then it goes on, the people are smitten by the Amalekites. And then you have laws for different offerings going on. And in the 15th verse of chapter, offering of bread. And when the congregation sins through ignorance, they got different things about atonement for and punishment for sins, various sins. It covers on, and it talks about a Shabbat breaker being stoned, and it ends off with branches, tzitzit, being put upon your garments. So that covers the whole thing in a nutshell. I'm just only going to focus on a few items, and then we're going straight to the Psalms. One of the things I just say in reference to that is this, that each one of these, they're actually called scouts, Teru, which is the scout. And that's when a person, a lot of Teru is like to go to the scout or the tourist, to be a tourist, for touring in the land. And so when we look at the guys that was sent, he sent top leaders. Normally, you don't send top leaders on an espionage mission. You send capable people on an espionage mission, but not top leaders. That's number one I want to bring out. And it's one per tribe that's brought out. And they got some interesting things with the names in there. And then when it comes to the tribe of Manasseh, it says, the son of Joseph. But when we talk about Ephraim, it's about, Ephraim itself. They said from Ephraim they sent Joshua, out the tribe of Ephraim. But Manasseh, the son of Joseph, they identify him as being with Joseph. That's something to consider and think about and talk about why they use Joseph in that case for him and not with Ephraim at that particular point in time. Also, some of the things I like to bring on the table is that these guys are selected, all princes, but they're not the top prince of the tribe of their fathers, but they're princes and well respected. So these guys carry weight. Sometimes a person might be a leader of a congregation, but he might not be the most influential individual of the congregation. And that's often happens around a lot of times in different congregations, like basically, say the group in Dimona. Ben-Ami is the spiritual leader, was the spiritual leader, Shalom, of Dimona. But the majority of the outside people are mostly met Prince ourselves, Shalom. So in various congregations, sometimes the leader, is known and greatly respected and responsible for the congregation over the whole, but he may not be the most influential individual. So hence these guys happen to be the most influential guys of their respective tribes. Though they're not the top guy of their tribe, they're the most influential guys of their particular tribe. And they were sent out, and the people approve them. So but one of the things that when we look at when Moses gives them the instructions, and it says, I'm pick it up from here. It said, and Moses sent them to spy out the land, that's how it's translated in English, of Canaan, and said unto them, get you up here into the south, and go up into the mountains, and see the land, what it is, and the people that dwelleth therein, whether they are strong or weak, whether they are few or many, and what the land is that they dwell in, whether it's good or bad, and what cities they are that they dwell in, whether in camps or in strongholds, and what the land is, whether it is fat or lean, whether there was wood therein or not. Whether wood, I mean a tree, they use the word etz in here, a tree, one tree. And he, well, let's look at here, and be ye of good courage, and bring the fruit of the land. Now the time was the time of the first ripe grapes. All right, so I just want to read that because this is a pivotal thing on the story. And I'm going to fast forward through the story somewhat. As you can see, I'm in another little town, another city right now, so lighting is not that great. But one of the things is that he sent them on not an espionage mission, but more like a reconnaissance. Tell me what you describe what you see, and bring back some proof of what develops there. And he mostly talk about fruit and stuff like that. So bring back what develops in that particular land. And he sent them at a season where the development should have been there, and which is we're coming up close upon, which basically would be, in this particular month, the month of Tammuz, so that they was actually, going through the land in the month of Tammuz. And if we do the math and the calculation, give it a day or two, when we come out through the fifth month, which is the month they refer to as Tisha B'Av, that's actually when the report come back. But I just fast forward that for a moment. But one of the things is that when they went in the land, they was there. It went 40 days in the land. We know how the story went. It was 40 days within that land. And they came back. Now, normally, a tour of the land would take roughly 80 days, but from what most experts say, but the Creator allowed it to be 40 days, and God knowing and everything before it exists. I guess that's why he made, the trip a little shorter. But one of the things that you do, they come back, and I like to read some of the stuff that the report, they come back. And it said, and they told him and said, all right, wait, better yet. All right, well, I would go from the 20 to 26th verse of that same 13th chapter. And they went and came to Moses and to Aaron and to all the congregation of the children of Israel unto the wilderness of Paran, to Kadesh, and brought back word unto them and unto all the congregation, and showed them the fruit of the land. And they said, and they told him and said, we came to the land whither thou sentest us, and surely it floweth with milk and honey, and this is the fruit of it. Howbeit the people that dwell in the land are fierce, and the cities are fortified and very great. And moreover, we saw the children of Anak there. Amalek dwell in the land of the south, and the Hittites and the Jebusites and the Amorites dwell in the mountains, and the Canaanites dwell by the sea, and along by the side of the Jordan. And Caleb still the people. Towards Moses and said, we should go up at once and possess it, for we are well able to overcome it. It's important, that's an important line there, because they describe it and it seems like he's still the people. But the men that went up with them said, we are not able to go up against the people, for they are stronger than we. And they spread an evil report. Now, they're stronger than we. When you look in the Hebrew, it's like saying stronger than him. So that same word could be there. So, those, I'm just trying to speed up just a little bit, but go over that, the word there, it could be implied stronger than him being the creator himself. And they spread an evil report of the land which they had spied out unto the children of Israel, saying, the land through which we have passed to spy it out is a land that eateth up the inhabitants thereof, and all the people that we saw in it were men of great stature. And there we saw the Nephilim, the sons of Anah, who came of the Nephilim, and we were in our own sight as grasshoppers, and so we were in their sight. So I just wanted to finish that out because that's the only thing I'm gonna focus on in this particular sidra is their account, pretty much. And one of the things when you look at in this account, that one thing, the mission was go and look, bring back a report, and not only bring back the report, bring back the fruit, and the produce of the land, and see if there's a tree in it. That operative thing, tree, I spoke on it when I did the sidra directly about the tree, so you might want to discuss why I asked about something simple as a tree there. Then their mission was never to come up with a strategy of conquest. Their mission was to go and report what they saw. So now you could say, with Caleb still the people, and to Moses and Aaron. So if you steal them, I mean, the people already, it seems like the people already is starting to get into a frenzy. If Moses sent them, then they should report back to Moses, not to Moses and the congregation. Those are some flaws there that you see. And then these supposed to be top-notch men. And they're supposed to be men of seemingly of good repute. Why? If you was there for 40 days in the land, touring the land, how come you didn't feel threatened? But yet you tell the people that you're seeing these giant people there, and you said that you was like grasshoppers in your sight, and so we were in their sight. Several things we find out. One, you don't have you're not going there to come back and try to plan an attack. We move according to the word of the Creator, just like we was guided in the wilderness according to the word of the Creator. So now you done stepped out the calling of the mission. Then you were supposed to report back to Moses, not to incite fear in the people. And when Moses was at the Yam Su, and the army of the Egyptians right behind them, he told the people to stand still, wait in the Lord. And the Creator told him, pretty much stop crying, tell the people to move forward. So Moses had a concern, but he kept the concern to himself, and also we find later on when Moses had his first major battle with one of the kings of Amorites, the Creator said, don't fear him, talking about concerning Og. So Moses he was a human being that had certain fear, but a good leader do not promote fear amongst his people. And these leaders are promoting fear. And it's okay to say, okay, I feel inadequate for the task. I don't feel that I'm that great. But to see how somebody else see you is a tragedy, through their eyes. You think of yourself as somebody worthwhile, then other people, you won't tolerate anything less from somebody else if they thought of you of less than what you think of yourself. But if you think of yourself as nothing, then other people going to see you as nothing. So these are some of the things, and these are leaders of the people. And then another thing is that grasshoppers is an insect that has wings. It has the potential to fly, but it don't. It hops around, but it has the potential. So they're not even seeing what their potential is. All the time they thought about the Creator. And then why go into the land? You go into a land where we're taught, we're speaking about ties, the sabbatical year. We're talking about the tithe of the tithes and the crops, and not gleaning the corners of the field. They didn't have to do that where they at, out there in the desert, in the wilderness, around Mount Sinai. They don't have to worry about that particular law. So now we got laws that only could be done in the land. Well, we don't have to be bothered with the laws now. So you're reading about, you got 613 laws that's going to be given to you, could be given to you pretty much, or close to that at that time. And yet you only have laws theoretically, because it's only going to be applicable once you cross over into the land. Well, I get my food for free. All I got to do is go pick it up. I got shade, I got heat, and I got protection. And all I got to do is just sit back and relax. And I can just study the Torah of what's necessary here. But the thing was that the completion of real study of Torah is application of what you learn. And this is one of the lessons we could get from the takeaway of dealing with the scouts that went up into the land, is that we're supposed to see the potential of applying what we learn in the land. So when we read the book today, we're so far removed from sacrifices. Most of us, it's not farmers. Most of us, don't know how to plant anything except maybe a potato. So, so and then you talk about, sabbatical year. We don't think about those things. Talking about the Yovel, we ain't thinking about that. Years of release, we ain't thinking about all that kind of stuff. The first fruits, we're not thinking about all that kind of stuff. So all that is only dealing with the land. The cattle we could deal with. We out here in the desert. So this is what one of the things that they might think, hey, we have it so good here, why leave? But yet they want to go back in Egypt. So now what is the evil report concerning the land? It doesn't clearly states what kind of evil report. But Lashon Hara, which is evil talk, evil gossip. If you're not supposed to talk evil against another human being, then you're not even supposed to talk evil against the land. So the land has certain requirements that had to be dealt with. So since the land has certain requirements to be dealt with, we had to, live a certain way on that land. So now I'm gonna leave it like that for the time being, except that we got 40 years for each day that they walk, and we know that people's upset with that, and we know later on that those guys got killed in the plague. We know after they was killed in the plague, then other stuff happened in between that time. But 40 years of wandering, when God told them that you're gonna have 40 years to wander for each day, and that and that they're gonna cry because of the people that died, that dying, that we know automatically we have Tisha B'Av coming up. Most say it's around that time, and we know around that time that the temple was destroyed twice within that particular month. We know we got certain fast days that we observe. So that's all I'm going to focus on in this particular setting. Now, I know it's a lot more to be discussed in this particular portion of Shalat Nekah, and God willing, I'll be able to hopefully bring out some different insights going forward. But one of the takeaways is that when God tell you that, you could do something, then you could do it. You can't, but God gave you the vision, and they was told to see. And God give you the vision to see, then he'll give you the provision to succeed. And we got to always remember that as we move forward. They rather to fight now. They were scared before, but once they got the 40-year sentence, now they want to go. And most said, don't go. This is our people. And one of the things is this. that we needed 40 years to develop into a nation that was capable of at least carrying out some of the basic commands of the Creator to enter the land. And, you know, if you was too afraid to fight one time, now you're ready to fight another, and they got beat down. You have basically some people look more of it as a death march for 40 years. All the people 20 years old and older, except for the tribe of the Levites, and except the women. So it wasn't the women in the count, and there was no Levites in the count. That was under that death sentence of dying in the wilderness for 40 years. And so your carcass is going to be left out there. So can you imagine that? That's a serious situation. But we're going to go straight to the Psalms a little bit. But we know the spy mission is later done by Joshua. That's the Torah that goes on. And he sent out 2 spies secretly, and it goes into a harlot's house, which we know is Rahab. We know the name of the harlot, but we don't know the name of the spies. Ain't that something? We know rabbinically they come up with some names who they say it might have been, but according to the scriptures itself, we don't find the names of the spies. And what more place to go to than a harlot's house if you're trying to make a reconnaissance, mission? And that's what they was, to be able to make a reconnaissance mission. Not to come back and give a strategy, just to make a reconnaissance mission. And they gave the reconnaissance of what was going on. And it's like, I used to say, when you go to a city and you want to get information about the neighborhood, go to the neighborhood barbershop, and especially in the Black neighborhood. If the barber don't know what's going on in the neighborhood, then nobody knows what's going on in the neighborhood. For the women's, when they used to have separate shops at the beauty salon, if the people in the beauty salon don't know what's going on in the neighborhood, nobody knows what's going on in the neighborhood. That is like the 411 center of everything. So now, if you go in ancient times, and you got a harlot that's an innkeeper, that her business is right in the wall of the city, then the people of prestige listen to her because a lot of them be her clients. So she's going to get all the information in the neighborhood. So that seems to be the best spot to go. So with that, we're going to Psalm 64th chapter of the book of Psalms, and see what we gather out of that.
We're in the book of Psalms, chapter 64, verse 1. Lamna Aseak, Mismor le Dawi. For the leader, a psalm of Dawi, of David. Hear my voice, O God, in my complaint. Preserve my life from the terror of the enemy. Hide me from
the... Now, first of all, this is David, a warrior, and then he praying, and he said, I'm praying to God, I said, hear my voice, but I got a complaint, and it said, preserve my life from the terror of the enemy. You know what's so unique about that? He didn't say the enemy's hitting him. He's just saying just how I feel. I feel myself. I feel scared. I feel what they might do if they got the upper hand. And they haven't touched me. They haven't hurt me. But just me thinking what they would do if they got me make me afraid. That sounds like a relationship to the Sidra. We was grasshoppers in our sight, and so it was in them, their sight. So you see in the opening line, David ain't worried about them touching him right now. He thinking about what they do if they did touch him. But go ahead, continue. 3. In other words, I said right then and there, don't let them think about me too much in their meeting. Because sometimes you might be the topic. One of the things when we look in history, Julius Caesar became the topic of the Senate, and they plotted to take him out. when you become a topic of enemies, that's the problem. So David said not only about what he feared about what they could do, don't even let them think about me like that. Keep me out their thoughts. Continue. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Hold right there. So this is really a tight plot. They said, look here, let's figure out how we're gonna get this thing off good. And we're gonna do it to the maximum. So, dude, David know people like that? Was he ever around people like that? And he's a warrior. The very person he had to serve, and had a spirit of evil will come upon him every now and then. Then you read in his lifetime, he had a guy who counseled like that of God on opposition. And he even counseled his son against him. So he had a lot of plotters. He had, his generals and stuff like that threatened, in so many ways. So David was around a lot of people that he cared for, but he had to be beware of. That's something. Continue. 6, 7. Yeah, 7.
Verse 7, it reads, they search out iniquities, they have accomplished a diligent search, even in the inward thought of everyone and the deep heart. But
all right, God, they need to find something bad about you. That's all. Say, what could we set them up with next? How could we trap them? How could we get next to them? We know. Let's watch them. This is something we're gonna get them. This is a war strategy without declaring a war, so to speak. So that's why it's connected with the 12 men that went into the land of Israel. Continue.
Verse 8, but God does shoot at them with an arrow suddenly, dense are their wounds. Verse 9, so they make their own tongue a stumbling unto themselves, and all see them shake the head. And all men fear, and they declare the work of God, and understand his doing.
Mm-hmm.
The righteous shall be glad in Yehovah, and shall take refuge in him, and all the upright in heart shall glory. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. All right. So sometimes, even in that psalm, we look at it, and I went through it kind of fast, but in the psalm, even when they tongue turn on themselves, when they caught up in their own intrigues, their own deception, they don't feel shame about it. They be angry because you got them. You figured it out. They couldn't get it off. But they don't feel shame that that they wanted to get you. That's our great king, ancestor, King David. So when you're leaders in various congregations, then you're going to have, even if you're just leading your own family, sometimes you will have that kind of thing. Just a prayer against enemies that's be around you, that seek you, and you worry about if just the ideas and their plan is so devastating. What they want to do, don't let them even be able to get to that point. And then some people don't. So you might have been around people in life that say, I really didn't like you, at one time. So wow, I really didn't like you. I really didn't care for you. I really thought this and that and other of you. You said, wow, what brought this on? What did I ever do to you for that to go down like that? And so David's thinking and wondering and perceiving certain things. And in his case, a lot of times it was real. A lot of us might be, really, insecure but and sometimes, like in David's case, is real. And it's a prayer against the enemy and support against the enemy and against, you know, those people that might plot against you. And you're asking God not to be entrapped in, even the slanderous stuff. So with that, I hope you got something out of what I said. I know I've been a little brief. If any mistakes been my own, and I greet everybody in the tongue of my forefathers. Shalom Aleichem, early Shabbat Shalom. And leave the comments in any questions, please leave the comments in there. I'll look it over and help me improve in sharing certain insight with you.
Hallelujah. Torah about Nasik, thanking the Most High God for your life, praying that the Creator of heaven and earth be with you, God and protect you, and that the Most High God be with everyone out there listening. Shabbat Shalom to everyone, and may the Most High God bless you all. Hallelujah. Shalom, shalom.
Hallelujah.